For the first minute, imagine a rural homestead in the 1930s. The wind cutting through empty fields and families struggling to stretch every resource. Fuel was scarce, wood was damp, and conventional matches could be expensive or unavailable. Yet resourceful men and women discovered that certain pieces of scrap metal, discarded nails, tin fragments, or steel shards from old tools could produce sparks capable of igniting tinder in seconds. This Depression-era spark trick was not just clever, it was life-saving. By understanding how to generate heat and flame from trash metal, people kept warm, cooked food, and survived during one of the harshest economic crises in history. Today, the same principles offer backyard enthusiasts, survivalists, and history buffs a way to connect with the resourcefulness of the past while building practical skills for off-grid or emergency scenarios. The spark trick was developed to solve the problem of fire scarcity in harsh, resource-limited conditions. During the Great Depression, conventional fire-starting methods were often unavailable. Matches were rationed or too expensive, and many households lacked access to dry kindling or stored wood. People had to rely on ingenuity and what materials they could scavenge. Certain metals, when struck against hard, gritty surfaces like stone or other metals, would produce sparks hot enough to ignite fibrous tinder. The trick lay in identifying which metals could produce intense friction heat and how to strike them safely. Old nails, rusted saw blades, and scraps of steel became essential survival tools. Families quickly learned which materials worked best, how to angle strikes, and how to capture the fleeting spark to start a flame. This knowledge was widely shared within communities. Those who mastered the technique could reliably produce fire in wet weather or during snowstorms, giving them a significant survival advantage. For children, it became a rite of learning self-reliance, while adults depended on it for warmth, cooking, and boiling water. So the trick really relied on the science of friction metal hardness and, having the right tinder. Not all metals actually produce sparks all that well. High-carbon steel is ideal, while softer metals like aluminum or copper, they produce little to no ignition. Back during the Depression, folks discovered that old files, saw blades, and even certain nails, when struck against a hard, rough surface, would create these tiny, molten fragments that just flew off at really high temperatures. These sparks could reach temperatures over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which was more than enough to ignite dry, fibrous material. The tinder was equally important, People would use dried grasses, cotton fibres, charred cloth, or even shredded bark. The key was to have your tinder finely divided and dry enough to catch those tiny, instantaneous sparks. By holding the tinder close to the strike zone and practicing timing, users could ignite a flame reliably. This combination of metal and tinder, honed through a fair bit of trial and error, became a Depression-era survival staple. The technique transformed fire starting from a luxury to a dependable skill. Families and homesteads, incorporated the spark trick into their daily survival routines. Unlike matches, it did not depend on supply chains, could be performed in damp conditions, and allowed repeated use without depletion. People often kept a small spark kit near the hearth, a high-carbon nail or file a stone for striking, and a bundle of prepared tinder. This simple setup provided warmth, cooking capability, and security. Reports from the period describe young boys learning the technique to help their families during long winters using small scraps of metal found around barns or abandoned farms. The skill also encouraged careful observation and improvisation. If one metal fragment failed to produce sparks, another could succeed, teaching resourcefulness and resilience under difficult conditions. Modern backyard enthusiasts and survivalists can replicate the Depression-era spark trick safely. To do this today, select high-carbon steel items such as old files, saw blades, or nails. So, you'll want to use a hard striking surface like a piece of quartz flint, or maybe even another steel edge. And make sure you prepare your tinder in advance. Dry grasses, cotton balls, fine bark fibres, or char cloth all work really well. Strike the steel sharply against the hard surface at a consistent angle, aiming those sparks right toward your tinder. With a bit of practice, the sparks will land and hopefully ignite the material. Once the tinder catches, just gently blow on it to encourage the flame to grow. And then, when it's ready, transfer it to your kindling or a prepared fire lay. So, this exercise teaches practical survival skills while connecting modern enthusiasts with, historical ingenuity. It encourages experimentation, observation of materials, and problem-solving, exactly the same lessons learned by Depression-era families trying to survive those harsh winters. The Depression-era spark trick is, a testament to human ingenuity and resourcefulness. It really demonstrates that survival is often less about advanced tools and more about understanding materials and techniques. By using discarded metals and natural tinder, folks created a reliable and sustainable method to make fire even under extreme scarcity. For backyard enthusiasts, this trick offers both a practical skill and a historical connection, showing how necessity drives innovation. If you want more historically proven survival skills, practical backyard experiments, and lessons from the resourcefulness of past generations, make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom. Share this video with fellow enthusiasts and help keep these essential skills alive for future generations.